There comes a quiet moment after 60, perhaps when you're sitting alone in the living room or waiting for a phone call that never comes, when you realize something painful. The dynamic between you and your children has changed. It's not the same as it once was. They were once small hands reaching for yours, eyes wide with admiration. Now, they dismiss your advice, interrupt your stories, or worse, make you feel like you're no longer important. This isn't just about pride, it's about dignity. It's about the silent pain of being treated like a burden after you've given everything, your time, your strength, your love. But what if I told you getting angry won't help? What if there's a better way? A way that doesn't involve confrontation, arguments, or guilt trips. This isn't theory. These are science-backed, psychologically grounded steps that help many regain not just the respect of their children, but also their self-worth. Today you'll discover 6 quiet shifts, rooted in emotional strength and elderly wisdom that will change how your children see you and how you see yourself. If this message speaks to you, even a little, pause and support our work with a like and subscribe. Not for us, but for every senior searching for real guidance and reflection. Let's keep spreading truth, dignity, and motivation. Action 1. Stop chasing their approval. There's an elderly reflection I once heard from Linda, now 76, who said, "I spent more time making my children comfortable than I ever did making myself heard." It's common, especially after 60, to want to hold on to your children's affection. You say yes when you want to say no. You agree when your heart quietly protests. You rearrange your life around theirs, hoping your sacrifice will remind them of your value. But here's what psychology tells us. The more we seek approval, the less we're respected. Respect doesn't grow from self-abandonment. It grows from self-respect. Let's look at Elaine, a 79-year-old widow. She was once fiercely independent, ran her own business, raised 3 children alone. But in her older years, she softened every edge. She let her adult son make decisions for her, let her daughter choose what she wore to family gatherings, bit her tongue when her youngest cut her off mid-sentence. "I didn't want to make waves," she said, "but I ended up invisible." Elaine's mistake wasn't love. The first step to regaining your child's respect: set boundaries. Speak your mind, say no, and not with anger, but with the calm of someone who knows their worth. Because when your children see that you respect yourself, something shifts. Quietly but powerfully, they begin to do the same. Action 2. Don't argue with weight by example. There's a difference between demanding respect and inspiring it. Imagine you're trying to convince someone you're worthy. You raise your voice, you remind them of your sacrifices, you point to all you've done, but in that moment your power fades. Because true respect isn't won through noise, it's earned through presence. That's exactly what happened with Marvin, a 74-year-old former high school principal. In the classroom, he commanded attention with a single glance. At home, though, his adult children dismissed his concerns and corrected him like a child. At first, Marvin pushed back. He fought for their attention, argued to be heard, but each conversation left him more exhausted, more unheard. Then, one evening, Marvin made a decision. He would stop fighting, not out of defeat, but out of clarity. He returned to what he knew best: quiet authority. He listened more, spoke less, and when he spoke, his tone was calm, deliberate. Weeks later, his son said, "You're different now, Dad, more like your old self." That's the paradox. When you stop needing to prove your strength, it starts to show. So, the next time your child speaks over you, don't raise your voice. Look them in the eye and hold your ground. Because the most powerful elders are the ones who don't need to fight to be heard. Action 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. There's a silent truth many elderly never say aloud. I need my children more than they need me. But emotional dependence, when not mutual, becomes emotional weight. Meet Sharon, age 77. Her 3 adult children had full lives: work, kids, spouses. Sharon, widowed for over a decade, filled her days waiting for a call, a visit, an acknowledgement. When it didn't come, she called instead, often, always polite but always longing. The result? Her children started to pull away. Psychologists call this attachment overload. When the emotional need becomes too heavy for the other party to carry, and it leads to avoidance, not closeness. But Sharon changed. She joined a morning Tai Chi group, took up watercolor painting, started volunteering once a week at the local shelter. 3 months later, something shifted. Her daughter called more often, just to see how you're doing. Her son texted, "Miss you, Mom, let's do lunch." Why? Because emotional independence isn't about giving up on connection. It's about becoming a full person again. A person your children want to be around, not feel responsible for. Action 4, set boundaries and enforce them. This is where many seniors falter. They want respect, but they allow small slights, dismissive comments, thoughtless behavior, because it feels like choosing peace. But peace that costs your dignity is not peace, it's quiet surrender. Let's take the story of Raymond, 81, a former engineer, analytical and methodical. He noticed a pattern. His daughter often interrupted him, rolled her eyes, even corrected his pronunciation in front of others. At first he brushed it off. Kids these days, he thought. But the pattern worsened. On Sunday dinner, she laughed when he offered advice on house repairs. That night he didn't sleep, not from anger, but from a growing sense of erasure. So he made a decision. Calmly, without blame, he told her, "I love you, but I expect to be spoken to with respect. If that's not possible, I won't participate in these gatherings." She resisted at first, then grew quiet, and slowly, with time, their relationship shifted. Because boundaries, when enforced, teach others how to treat us. And enforcing them isn't harsh, it's essential. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. There's a generosity trap many seniors fall into. You give, and give, and give, hoping that one day your children will say, "Thank you, I see you, I appreciate you." But here's the hard truth. When you give endlessly without boundaries, you don't build gratitude, you build entitlement. Take Teresa, 75. She helped her son pay rent, babysat without being asked, rearranged her doctor appointments for her daughter's convenience. When she finally asked for help, no one showed up. It broke her. So she pulled back, kindly but firmly. She stopped offering before being asked. Started saying, "I'm not available that day, but I hope you figure it out." At first they were confused, frustrated even, but then something changed. Her daughter brought flowers just because. Her son said, "Mom, I appreciate all you've done. I never said that enough." Respect returns when generosity is recognized as a gift, not an obligation. Action 6. Build a life outside of them. This perhaps is the most radical and the most freeing. Your children are part of your story, but they are not your entire story. Martha, 80, once said, "I spent so many years waiting for them to need me that I forgot how to be me." But she changed that, took a train to Santa Fe, joined a poetry group, learned to swim, and suddenly her children started calling, not because she needed them, but because they missed her. When your life is full, when your joy no longer depends on their presence, they see you differently, not as someone clinging to relevance, but as someone they aspire to become. Because in the end, the most respected elders are the ones who live with quiet purpose. Think of Evelyn, an 82-year-old woman who had spent decades devoted to her children's lives. Every milestone, every heartbreak, every need, they called her, and she showed up without question. But after her 80th birthday, something shifted. The calls became fewer, the texts shorter. When she asked her son to visit, he replied, "We'll see, Mom, it's been a hectic week." For days, Evelyn sat by the window, wondering if she had outlived her usefulness. Then one morning, she walked past a community bulletin board and noticed a flyer, Local History Group, Stories from the Past. She went. At first, she just listened. Then she shared stories, rich, powerful, and full of detail. People clapped, some even took notes. And for the first time in years, Evelyn didn't feel invisible. She felt needed again, but this time on her terms. Her son eventually noticed. "You've been busy," he said. "I have," she replied with a smile. "It feels good." That's the truth. When you stop centering your entire existence around your children, they begin to notice your value again, not out of pity, but out of genuine admiration. And more importantly, you begin to admire yourself again. Final thoughts on regaining respect after 60. You've lived long enough to deserve peace. You've sacrificed enough to earn dignity, and you've raised children with love, but now you must raise yourself again. Let's revisit. I will stop chasing approval because my voice matters. I will lead by example because my strength is quiet but unshakable. I will not place my emotional well-being in their hands because my heart is still my own. I will set boundaries because I deserve kindness and basic respect. I will stop giving endlessly because love should be mutual, not expected. I will build a life of my own because I am still living, not just existing. These are not theories. They are lived truths, confirmed by psychologists, affirmed by elders, proven by generations before us. And if you apply them, not all at once, but steadily, you'll notice something shift. Your children won't just see you as mom or dad or the old one. They'll see a person, a whole person, a person who lived, who loved, who still stands with purpose. Let's look at a few more real stories, because sometimes seeing someone else's journey can give us the courage to begin our own. Diane's story, the return of confidence at 73. Diane used to bake every Sunday for her children and grandchildren. She kept the family together, birthdays, holidays, even the small things. But after a few years, no one came around as often. Her baked goods went untouched, the table too big for one person. She began to doubt herself. Then she stopped baking. She signed up for a pottery class instead. I figure, she said, if I'm going to be alone, I might as well get messy with clay. Weeks turned into months. Her hands, once used to shaping dough, now shaped bowls and vases. People noticed. Even her grandchildren started coming by. Diane found her respect not in trying harder, but in letting go, in creating something for herself, not them. Walter's story. Quiet strength at 80. Walter had 3 sons, all successful, but they stopped listening years ago. They interrupted him during conversations. They laughed off his opinions. One day during a family dinner, his eldest mocked his outdated view on technology. Walter looked him in the eye and said, "Son, if you want to laugh at me, do it when you're alone, but not at this table." And there was silence. He didn't yell, he didn't storm out, but from that day the tone shifted. His sons began to weigh their words. They began to listen. That's the power of holding your ground with grace. Clinical studies on elder respect show that adult children are more likely to maintain a sense of admiration toward parents who set clear personal boundaries, maintain autonomy and interests outside family dynamics, exhibit emotional resilience, use calm, assertive communication rather than guilt or demand. This aligns with the psychological principle known as autonomy respect reinforcement, where the more self-sufficient and grounded an elder appears, the more their value is psychologically affirmed in the eyes of adult children. Source: APA Elder Behavior Journal, 2022. In short, you don't regain respect by asking for it. You regain it by embodying it. Shifting the family dynamic with grace, not bitterness. There's a danger when elderly people, in response to feeling disrespected, become bitter, withdrawn, or passive-aggressive. That response, understandably rooted in hurt, only fuels further distance. Instead, consider this quote from a wise 85-year-old man I once interviewed. You don't win them back by reminding them of who you were. You win them back by showing who you still are. So instead of guilt, offer clarity. Instead of silence, offer firmness. And instead of waiting for the phone to ring, go live a life that makes them want to call again. Signs you're being taken for granted, and what to do. If you recognize any of these signs, it's time for a reset. You say yes when you want to say no. You adjust your schedule even when it's inconvenient. You feel hurt, but don't speak up. You give more than you receive. You wait for calls that never come. You avoid conflict to keep the peace. What to do? Practice saying, "I'll think about it," instead of immediately agreeing. Schedule things for yourself first before adjusting to others. Write down what behaviors you won't accept and rehearse how to address them. Begin one new hobby, interest, or class without involving your children? When they notice the change and push back, it will happen. They may say, "Oh, are you acting different? Are you making this hard?" And your answer can be simple. "I'm just choosing to respect myself again." I hope you can too. No anger, no drama, just truth. They may resist, but they will notice and eventually they will adjust. What elderly wisdom teaches us about long-term respect? From decades of interviews with seniors and psychological studies, here are 4 truths. 1. Respect is taught by behavior, not demanded through words. 2. Emotional independence is attractive at any age. 3. The more peace you have, the more value others place on your presence. 4. You are never too old to change how others see you, but you must start with how you see yourself. Let's talk now about how to rebuild respect in a way that doesn't just repair relationships, but strengthens you as a whole person. Because this is the deeper truth. This journey isn't about changing your children. It's about rediscovering your own power. And when you do that, everything changes. Let go of the old script. You are not just the parent. After 60, many parents unconsciously carry the same script they've lived for decades. It's my job to take care of them. I'm busy, I shouldn't bother them. I'll come around eventually. But this script doesn't serve you anymore. What worked when they were 10 doesn't work when they're 40. And if you keep waiting for them to wake up, you'll stay stuck in a role you've long outgrown. This doesn't mean you love them less. It means you love yourself more. It means you've learned that respect doesn't follow sacrifice, it follows self-dimension. You don't need to be the background character in their adult lives. You are still a full person, with value, strength, and direction. How to create a new identity after 60 years, independent and inspiring. One of the most powerful shifts in elderly reflections and life lessons from the elderly is identity reinvention. It's the reason some seniors are admired, even envied, while others are pitied or ignored. Here's how to step into that new identity with clarity and confidence. 1. Pick one weekly self-date. Every week, schedule something just for you. A coffee shop visit, a painting session, a local concert, a quiet walk. And treat it with the same respect you would a doctor's appointment. Because it matters. You matter. 2. Learn something new that has nothing to do with your children. Start a new skill, a language, music, art, writing. Sign up for a community class. Your mind, like your muscles, thrives when used. 3. Redefine your home. Turn a corner into a you space. A chair, a light, a journal, a photo wall. A place that reflects who you are, not who you were to others. 4. Say no. I can do that. That's enough. You owe no long justification. Respect grows in clarity. 5. Reconnect with old dreams. Maybe you once wanted to write, travel, teach, start small. But start. You are not too late. You are right on time for something new. How seniors who reclaimed their lives changed everything? Let's take a few final real-life examples from elderly wisdom across cultures. After being ignored at family dinners, Antonio stopped attending for 2 months. Not with resentment, but with a note. I'll return when there's space for mutual listening. When he did return, the atmosphere changed. Why? Because his silence had meaning. Anna, 76, Canada. After years of dropping everything for her daughter's schedule, she finally said, "I won't cancel my volunteer shift to babysit. I'll help another day." At first, her daughter was furious, then impressed. She saw her mom as someone with purpose again. Emiko, 80, Japan. Lived alone. No visits for months. She started a YouTube channel sharing elderly quotes and memories. Within 6 months, thousands of followers. Her children? "Mom, we had no idea people loved you so much." The lesson? You don't have to wait for someone to give you worth. Create it, claim it, live it. When guilt tries to creep back in, remember this. There will be moments where you'll want to go back. When a child sounds tired and you want to drop everything. When you're lonely and tempted to beg for attention. But pause. When they guilt you into doing something you know, ask yourself, drains will this action lead to more respect or more resentment? Your job now is to preserve your energy, not prove your loyalty. You've done that already, decades ago. Now your mission is peace, strength, and joyful purpose. Let's reflect, a message from the future you. Imagine you're 90, sitting in a quiet room, reflecting on this phase of life. What would you wish you had done? Would you wish you had spoken up more? Said no sooner? Laughed alone in a park instead of waiting by the phone? Read the book? Took the class? Had the difficult conversation? This is your moment, not theirs, yours. Because as one wise elder once said, in the end, I didn't regret what my children didn't give me. I regretted not giving myself what I needed. Practical steps to put all of this into action this week. Here's a 7-day self-respect reboot for seniors looking to regain their balance and value. Day 1. Write down 3 boundaries you wish you had set. Pick one to start saying out loud. Day 2. Schedule 1 hour that is only for you. Guard it fiercely. Day 3. Identify one habit that makes you feel small. Replace it with one that makes you feel grounded. Day 4. Say no to something that doesn't serve you. Day 5. Reach out to someone who fills your cup, not empties it. Day 6. Reflect. How are you feeling? Lighter? Stronger? Write it down. Day 7. Reward yourself. Not because you earned it, but because you exist, and that alone is reason enough. You're not alone. This is a global shift among seniors. Across the world, from the US to Japan, from France to South Africa, elders are stepping back into their own light. Facebook groups for over 70s sharing stories of reclaiming independence. TED Talks by 80-year-olds who found love, purpose, and strength again. Communities where seniors lift each other up, not waiting on anyone else. You are part of a quiet revolution, one where elderly reflections, senior health, and dignity lead the conversation, not just duty or dependence. And that's something to be deeply proud of. A final word to your children, unspoken, but felt. To the children who may one day hear this. We gave you everything, but we forgot ourselves. That ends now, not in anger, but in love. We will no longer shrink so you can grow. We will rise beside you or apart from you, but we will rise. And if you choose to walk with us, do it with respect. Or don't walk at all. This message resonated. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below which of the 6 actions will you begin this week. And if you believe more seniors deserve to hear the truth, dignity, and inspiration that this video offers, please like, subscribe, and help spread this movement of self-respect and rebirth after 60. And you are not forgotten. Right? You are still the author of your story. Thank you for being here.